I had a painful experience as a child that only ended when I met God. When I was very young, my father used to drink heavily and he would beat me and my mother for no reason. My father was a construction worker and my mother was a full-time wife. Occasionally, he would work as a temporary worker to earn some money, should the family had 3 children to take care of, and my father lost his job because of the economic downturn. After he lost his job and failed to find a stable job, our life started to become difficult and he started to drink heavily. At first it was 1 beer a night, then he got into vodka. I remember the first time I saw him hit my mom. I was 5 years old, and when I walked into their room he pushed me away with his hands and continued to hit my mom. After the recession ended, he got a job and we all thought life would go back to normal. But my dad continued to drink, and every time he did, he would hit my mom. My mom was very afraid of him. Finally, she had enough and took my brothers and left. I never understood how she could leave me, and I still don't know if I can ever forgive her. I lived a careful life around my dad, because very small things would make him angry. It was a beautiful day and I went to school and did well on my math test. I was happy to tell him that when I walked into the house, I knew I needed to get my chores done before he got home. I hurriedly cleaned everything up and took the trash out. He shouldn't have punished me that night, at least that's what I thought. Around 7 o'clock, I heard my dad coming into the house. Then I handed him my math paper. As I walked towards him, I could already smell the alcohol. "What's this?" he asked. "It's my math test paper. I wanted to show it to you and make you proud." He picked up the paper and I saw the familiar look in his eyes. "Why didn't you get a perfect score? Are you stupid?" he said vaguely. "I did my best," I said. "Who told you to talk back?" he yelled. When I started to cry, I knew what was about to happen. I curled up into a ball to soften the blow. I screamed out in pain over and over again. This only made him angrier, and then it felt like a wooden stick had hit the top of my head. My body became powerless and deep down I knew I was dead. I could see other spirits hovering around me, and when I tried to talk to them, they would stare at me in disbelief, as if they didn't understand what I was saying. Finally, an angel came up to me and welcomed me. The angel began to guide me as I wandered through this illusory space, without saying a word. I did not feel any fear, no love, no joy, only numbness. Everything was a blur, and this angel soon led me around in a circle. Then we stopped in front of him. I thought it was another angel, but the previous angel told me that it was Jesus, the Son of God. He didn't speak and his lips didn't move, but I knew the voice belonged to him. I asked him where we were. He said, "We are between life and death." He told me that he knew what had happened and the pain he had experienced before I came here. I asked him why he let the violence continue and why he didn't make it stop. I remember that when I questioned him, he couldn't help but shed tears. Jesus put his arms around me, and I knew he was hurting my child. "Every blow you felt, I felt it." "Then why didn't you stop it? You could have struck him down at any time." "Why?" I asked. He didn't answer, he just held me tighter. I finally stopped struggling, gave up, and let the love flow to me. I can't remember the last time I experienced this kind of love. Jesus looked up, and I knew from the look in his eyes that I was going back. "I know you want to stay here, but you can't," he told me. "Why?" "I don't want to go back. I don't want to go through this pain again," I cried. "You won't go through this hurt again," he assured me. As I hugged him, I screamed again. "I'm sorry, you have to go back. Your story is not over yet." I continued to cry because I didn't want to go back home. I just wanted him to let me stay there. Anywhere was better than staying with Dad. Jesus gave me one last hug and told me that he would be here waiting for me. I didn't plead again, and soon I was back. As I tried to open my eyes, I realized that I could only open one eye. I was in an ambulance, and I could tell because there was a lot of medicine on the shelf. The paramedic saw me looking at her and yelled to her partner that I was awake. "What's happening?" I asked. "We thought we had lost you. Thank God you're okay." When we arrived at the hospital, a doctor sent me for an MRI. Because he had kicked me in the temple, it had caused a brain hemorrhage. It caused my brain to bleed and swell. When I woke up in the hospital room for the second time, a police officer was standing next to me. I asked where my dad was. They said he called the emergency number as soon as he saw me pass out. He said I had fallen and hit my head on the dining room table. When the paramedics started treating me, they realized I had been abused for a long time. I recovered and lived with my grandfather. They gave me the feeling of being loved, and although that love could not surpass the love of Jesus, I was so content that words cannot describe the feeling. Now I am happily married and have 2 beautiful children. I also give advice to children who have been abused. I tell them that none of it is their fault and that God is with them. And as for my dad, he was convicted of attempted murder. I haven't been to see him yet. After he was locked up, he tried to write to me asking for forgiveness. I know I don't want to forgive him yet, and the damage he did to my psyche is huge. I wonder what I would be doing now if God hadn't shown up then.